Well, hello and welcome to tonight. Tonight is a fun night. Um, Super excited about this evening. We've got spring is here, and you can't tell because of my long sleeve shirts, but it is warm and it has been warm today. It's an high of I think about 80 degrees, and so we are in full spring mode. At least I'm choosing to put myself in spring mode. And I'm excited for the next couple of months because this is some of my favorite part of the year, weather-wise. A lot of cool stuff to do. So people that love the beach, it's about that time. About a month or so, it really starts getting heavy with the beach stuff. As you might know, I'm not a beach guy, but I know a lot of people that are, and that's why people often move to Virginia Beach. So, excuse me. I want to talk to you about some of that tonight. The topics tonight are going to be a little bit, well, mostly about living in Virginia Beach, and we're going to talk about different elements of that tonight. But we're going to get into some more interesting, hey, what's life like here, and then also some new things coming to Virginia Beach that I think are pretty important for a variety of reasons. That I think if you're interested in just being in the general region as a whole, I think this is important, but especially if you're wanting to move into the Virginia Beach area itself, like the city close by, this is also pretty important. So first of all, I'll drop a comment here or a banner. Let me know where you are watching from. So are you are you in America? Are you overseas? Are you in Antarctica? It could be anywhere. Could you be sailing on a boat right now? Let me know where you are. I'd love to hear from you. Just if you have any questions, you can also feel free to drop the questions in the comment box and chat box, and of course answer any questions that you might have. And as we go forward too, I have a few questions I'm going to bring up that I think will be interesting or helpful for you, especially if you are planning to move here. Or if you just moved here, maybe, or just kind of getting acclimated and seeing, okay, what's life really like here? And so, as a backstory, I am a local, and I grew up here. I've lived here all my life, and in the Hampton Roads area, and so I eat and breathe, eat, sleep, breathe this stuff, and because this is all I do. I drive, I see, I live, I eat here, I play here. My whole life is here, and so I feel like I can talk to you just from a local's perspective, in addition to just being a real estate agent, about what's here and also what's not here. And I have a lot of people that ask me that kind of question, like, hey, what are the benefits of living here? But also, hey, is this really for me? I had a conversation recently, a few days ago, about someone was planning to or considering a move here. And we're talking about what their preferences are, like they like to do, what's nearby, this type of houses here, all kinds of stuff. And after the conversation was up, I told him, I was like, hey, it doesn't sound like you would, be you would be super thrilled to move here. And so I kind of said, hey, maybe you should try other parts of the country because I think you might be happier there. So, I like the element of, I love the area. I love it. But I also know that not everybody uh, needs to like it. It's okay, and I'm happy to tell people that too. I just want to be able to give people as close and as genuine of a feedback as I possibly can, because I think that is something that's needed. If I was planning to move somewhere and I had no basis or family there or anybody that could give me more pointers, I would like to know something so I can kind of make a better decision. Maybe if I'm moving because of a job, I'm coming because I have to. Well, what is it like here? Where should I go? All that stuff. Excuse me. So I just love that. And again, I like talking about the drawbacks too, because it's part of what life is like here. So, we'll see. Live on New Jersey. Awesome. Planning on moving to Virginia Beach. Well, welcome. Are you coming specifically to Virginia Beach or the area? Just curious to hear more about that. So just as background, Hampton Roads in general is going to be anywhere from the line of Virginia Beach, the line of Virginia in North Carolina, up to past Williamsburg. That's a lot of, I work with a lot of people that move to Williamsburg and around there as well. And we'll talk about that area as well a little bit too. If you're thinking about comparing between Williamsburg, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, we'll talk about that too. So, but yeah, that's great. Well, welcome to the area almost. as I like to say a lot. Liberty Bell. Hey, Sam, we are retiring in a few years. Very nice. Looking at Williamsburg and Virginia Beach. Exact. Great. Does Virginia Beach have any planned 55 plus communities like colonial heritage in Williamsburg? Great question. And watching from Aldi. Huh. Is that same pronunciation as the store? I'm sure you get that all the time. So I'm not too original with that question. But, well, to answer that right now, there are very few. West Neck is the most common or most popular, if you will, which is in the southeastern section-ish of Virginia Beach. There aren't too many. There's one more in Chesapeake. I cannot remember the name of it, but I will say that they aren't very big. It's not necessarily a big thing in Chesapeake, in Virginia Beach or the area. Colonial Heritage is kind of the prime spot. There's another one. I can drop you a comment below as I look through it later. There's another one that's like Colonial Heritage, but not as big. Colonial Heritage is kind of one in and of its own. So if you like that element of it, I would definitely say that might be the spot that has the most. It's the largest complex and probably has a lot of what you're looking for. Honestly, I don't see as much in Virginia Beach. Just because good 55 plus area. Well, so Will, I agree with you. For different reasons. There aren't a lot of 55 and up communities. Again, I think there's that one. I can't remember the name of it. I need to find the name of it. It's just not a big one. But Chesapeake is a pretty relaxed a city. And the fact that people, you don't have to live in specific cities to enjoy what is all around Hampton Roads. But just because of kind of a unique, kind of real relaxed vibe. There's country, even the busy parts of Chesapeake are still suburbs, right? And so I think that can appeal to some people that are planning to retire. I work with a lot of people too that they have, for example, their kids want to move here or are moving here, and then the parents end up relocating as well to be close to them, and ends up the conversation either comes to often Chesapeake or Virginia Beach a lot of times. So that doesn't surprise me that I agree, Will, to answer your question or to follow up to what Will's saying. And again, we can use the chat as a communal discussion too. I love it. So the more of that, the better. Elke, did I pronounce that correctly? Please forgive me if I said that wrong. Watching from Miami, very cool. I've never been to Miami. I'm here. It's very different than Virginia Beach, but I've never been there before, and I've heard good things. Thank you very much. Thanks, Elke. And please forgive me. Let me know if I'm saying that incorrectly. But have you been here before? Or I guess it sounds like you probably have if you like the area. But have you stayed at the beach or have you been anywhere else? I'm curious to hear. But so what I want to say as we go through more comments and moving forward, there's one thing that is, to me, is possibly going to change the dynamic of what is at the beach at Virginia Beach that I wanted to talk about first. That is the freshest, the newest thing happening in Virginia Beach that's going to be pretty significant. And I'm going to, in addition to that, I'm not sure you can see my screen. I will try and share it because I will. Yeah, okay, you can't see me yet. I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to show you on the map. There's a place called Atlantic Park. And if you have not heard of Atlantic Park before, there is a neighborhood called Atlantic Park, but there is a new concert, entertainment, wave park, restaurant, not restaurant, bar, but shops, stores, all going to be this big new development that's going to be built several blocks away from the beach. And it's going to replace basically what was an old kind of a vacant lot in a very crucial part of Virginia Beach called the Dome site, which, if you can imagine, there back in the day, meaning I don't remember the year that it was torn down. I think it was 1994, 93. The Dome was a venue, a concert venue, or a civic center in Virginia Beach, near the beach, and it had a lot of performing artists that would come. Just a kind of here we have Norfolk Scope. The Dome, I would say, is maybe a smaller version of that. If you're a local watching, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's probably a reasonable comparison based on what's here. But I'm going to show you where that place is going to be, and it's going to be built. Point is, this place is going to be built near the beach, and it's funded by Pharrell, big partner. Live Nation is partly involved in this as well. So if you can imagine, that means that there will be some concert elements to this. In addition to that, it's a big privately funded spot. Pharrell Williams is the biggest name in this development, and I will say that this has been in the works for several years. And ever since I've been making videos, this was going to happen or supposed to happen. But recently, it's now official in the last couple of weeks. This is going to, I think, boost not just the tourism in Virginia Beach, possibly the traffic, but increase parking. So that's cool eventually. But also, I think it might affect the property values in Virginia Beach, especially near the beach. I don't live near the beach, so I can't say I will benefit necessarily directly from this myself because I kind of wish I did. But if you are looking at buying a house near the beach, near the ocean front, this might help. And so I'm going to show you what I mean by giving you the map. So if you're looking on the map, you'll see here, zooming in, you see there is Arctic Avenue, which is right here. And then you have 20th Street and 19th Street. Between those two, do the aerial view, there's a vacant spot of land. I think, actually, no, this is the parking lot here. It's going to be right here. This here, I believe, is going to be where the location is going to be. And I'll also show you some renderings of what they've done as well. But if you drop a pin, you'll kind of notice that there's not a whole lot happening there right now. And it's just a park. It's sort of a quasi park. But you see around here, there are condos, if you will, row houses and bungalows, stores, storefronts. Let's see, that was built recently there. And I see that. And so surrounding there, like these houses here are going to have a rude awakening because they're going to be right next to the concert. It's a concert area and it's a big wave park. So because the beach is a big deal, this is one of the first, I think the first in the country like it. This kind of wave park entertainment center, this whole thing. And I'm going to show you the Virginian Pilot article. There's a bunch of articles about this, and you can do a search to talk about that talks about, or do a search for Atlantic Park. You'll see a bunch of information here. But going up, see here, here's some renderings of the park. You see there's a wave park on the outside, residential areas. I'm guessing some more commercial. There are some restaurants that have not been named, but publicly, but there are going to be recognized or named at some point relatively soon. And so coming down, let's see, where's the rest? There we go. There's the spot, the site right there. And again, the old dome site. And so there's going to be I think you call it a surf lagoon. It's a 2.6 acres. Yeah. Surf lagoon. Yeah. And so you can do, I think, up to 6 foot wave experience, if you will, surfing through that wave park. And you see their surf park is expected to be capable of generating up to 900 waves per hour. I think that's a lot. I don't really know. So high as 6 feet, 20 to 40 surfers at a time. And that's $89 to $159 an hour. I'm not a surfer, so I like to golf. And so I might pay for something if it was involving golf, but I'm not a surfer. But point being is that there's going to be a lot of new stuff here that is going to affect pricing in Virginia Beach, especially near the beach. So of all the newer things happening in Virginia Beach, I think this is going to be the most impactful. It's over 330 million people. That's 30 million people. I'm sorry, $330 million to fund this whole thing. And it's going to be finished in the summer of 2025. So got a couple of years, but it's coming around the corner. And like I said before, this was supposed to happen, or at least projected to start 4 or 5 years ago. And Pharrell has tried to pump up the notoriety, if you will, of this area by bringing in what's called Something in the Water. If you've ever heard of that before, that's at the beach at the end, I think, of May. End of April, I believe. It's in that kind of right as the summer is getting close to starting. So that didn't happen last year. It's happening again this year. So it's coming back. And so Pharrell kind of took a hiatus, if you will. A lot of part controversy around all the things involving the Something in the Water tour. He moved it to Washington, D.C., but now it's back. And so that plus the Atlantic Park that was planned for a long time, that also is going to, you're starting to see more things come to this area. I can tell that Virginia Beach is trying to be, if you will, open for business, if you will, wanting to bring more entertainment, wanting to bring more concerts, more notable performers. And so I think that's going to be a big deal that will bring more demand to the area. So, and in addition to that, there are residential houses that will be built, or residential property. So I would say probably going to be more like condos, attached houses. They're going to be built in that area as well. What does that do? Well, think about this. Let's switch and put on the real estate hat. As prices increase, and there's always a debate about what's going to happen with pricing, but if it's going to be so expensive to build a house, meaning if the prices to build a new house are going to stay high, it's going to be very hard for prices to drop until the prices for new houses drop, if that makes sense. Because, well, the scarcity, if you can't build a house, if there are no ways to build new houses, then you've got a permanent or stagnant amount of houses available. And right now there aren't a lot. So I think that what's going to happen is that as new houses are built, like these new residential areas, I think you'll see new comparable sales in those areas hit, which makes the other properties, I think, will increase in value as well. So I think there is going to be a boost in the appreciation closer to the beach specifically, and then eventually what could bleed out to the rest of the city specifically. And so usually in this area at least, I think this is going to be the case for a lot of areas, but here you'll see that prices in other parts of Hampton Roads, not just Virginia Beach, they have risen in other cities. So, Virginia Beach, has risen, but Chesapeake has too. And even though you're not living in Virginia Beach, you can still see a lot of benefit to being in Chesapeake or even Suffolk or Norfolk or whatever. You're seeing increases, right? But with something like this, something like a very localized development that can attract people to that specific thing, I can see appreciation or values increase more in that specific location. Namely, and another thing I want to mention, I'll talk about in a minute, is the casino, the Rivers Casino in Portsmouth, which is a fascinating study to learn, okay, what's going to happen to values around in Portsmouth. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But my point here is that with Virginia Beach, I think in Virginia Beach, there was a good chance that there will be increased appreciation and demand near these areas, especially the ones that can be Airbnb'd, the areas, because not every part can be. And I get that question a lot. And the question is, can I Airbnb a house in Virginia Beach? The answer is depends. It very much depends. And you can't do it in very many places, but the ones that you can, it could be also increase the values of those as well for that reason, because of all these new things that are coming to Virginia Beach, or the new big thing, and also the Something in the Water tour, which brings a lot of people. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this affects pricing in Virginia Beach. Now, that being said, switching over to Portsmouth, the Rivers Casino, we have our very first casino in Hampton Roads. Sorry. So it's often debated, is the casino a good thing or not? Is it going to bring a better environment around there or not? And I'll be honest with you, I don't gamble. I like new experiences. I went to the casino once and walked in and real quickly walked out because I needed to get in. It's a whole thing, and I was just stopping in to see what it was like. And it's a casino, but it's funny because where it is in a place that's similar to the, it was a wide open field. I guess that got built up, but there are some neighborhoods around there that have pretty small houses, like 2-bedroom, 1 bath. I think sometimes mostly 3.1, 3.5, 3.5 neighborhoods are nearby. And the prices for those houses are, I'm seeing them. I looked at one that needed to be rehabbed, but it was for 140, 150. Houses in there in the low 200s. And at this point, it's hard to find those anywhere else. So my question, and I really honestly don't know yet what's going to happen, is how is the Portsmouth neighborhood or the areas nearby going to be affected by the casino? And I've been looking at studies, looked at things online to see of other examples of casinos and what has happened to the areas around it. And it's really hard to tell. It seems like it's really a coin flip as to what might happen. And so that being said, just kind of the concept here is, just because something new is coming does not necessarily mean it's going to be a boon to the area around it. And so we've got one that I think in Virginia Beach is going to be a definite boon. Portsmouth, it might be. I'm not sure. It's so different than what else is in Portsmouth to me that I think it could be a benefit, but it's hard to tell. Now, when it comes to money coming into Portsmouth, again, depending on how you believe, how you, what your beliefs are on casinos, that's one thing. But as far as the actual money is concerned, it's going to help to me with Portsmouth. And because one of the issues with Portsmouth to me is taxes are very high relative to the rest of the area. So that's a good thing to mention. If you're trying to find a house, like a great water house in Hampton Roads near the beach ish, and you don't want to spend 1.2 million or 1 million in at the beach, you want to pivot. Well, there's some spots, in Portsmouth near water, not necessarily the ocean front or water like the bay, but real nice water areas for 750, maybe even max, maybe 800 max, but 550, 650, great spots. And some of the problems is that, the taxes on a house that's $500,000 in Portsmouth is often about 30% more. I mean, for any house, really. Portsmouth's taxes are much higher, and part of that reason is because Portsmouth's revenue, city revenue, is let's start over. There aren't as many taxable properties in Portsmouth that they can get money from and revenue from, and so because there are a lot of churches, or a lot of nonprofit, if you will, or non-taxable, if you will, buildings in Portsmouth, and so it's harder to get as much tax money from property for that reason. And so they increase. To me, one of the reasons is they increase the taxing partly to offset that. And I hope that as the more money comes in for the casino, it will hopefully affect the not just desirability, desirability to live in Portsmouth, but also to get more tax money from other things besides having to ratchet up the taxes in Portsmouth. So it might help bring up the affordability, bring down the cost to live or buy a house in Portsmouth. So it could be a benefit there as well. So, let me finish. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Hey, Trey. Yeah. I see Will. Thanks, Will. Thanks for following up there. Elkie. I pronounced it correctly. That's awesome. That's great. Will, looking for an area about 15 to 20 minutes from the beach and 15 to 20 minutes from Oceana Base. So, good question there. So, if you've probably looked at the map and you've noticed that the Virginia Beach city is a pretty wide and large city. And if you want to be 15, 20 minutes from Oceana, I actually did a video on Oceana this last week and talking about this kind of same thing. You're going to find that about 60% of the beach or of the city is covered by that range. Now, as you get closer to the beach, that's when you start kind of narrowing it down to getting closer to the beach on the east side. But one thing that's important to note, and this will help everybody that's watching, I think, especially if you're planning to move here, you're not sure or whatever, is how the city works with traffic or with roads. And so let me zoom out of the map here. If you notice here, Virginia Beach being so large, it's got a lot of side roads, a lot of stop and go, lots of traffic lights, just a bunch of mishmash, right? And so being close to Oceana, to answer your question, is 20 minutes from there is going to be anywhere really. I mean, most of Virginia Beach, like the north side, I'd say about 80% of it is going to be in that range. 70% of it, and then south, I'd say you get about another 70% of it there. As you get closer to like the south or southwestern side, you get close to 25 minutes. So it depends on your price range, I think, is also another good comment. And I think if you can answer that, that would help me as well. But point being is that if you go further, east, you'll be able to be in that range. However, 264 is a very important road right here. It's like the belt that goes across the entire city of Virginia Beach into Norfolk and actually going into Suffolk, Portsmouth, and close to Suffolk, right? But it's a very popular road in Virginia Beach because it's the main interstate in Virginia Beach. And so as you go, the further you go away from the interstate, you have to get closer to the beach in order to stay within that time period, that drive range. Meaning if you come down here, like around Chimney Hill, around Lynn Haven, this area near Rosemont, you'll probably still be, you're only about 12 minutes away, 15 minutes away from here. As you go towards like Salem, that's where you start getting into 20 minutes and plus away from the beach, or 264 and towards Oceana. But start over. If you're in Salem, it's going to take you about 20 minutes to get to Oceana. However, it takes you longer than that, most likely, to get to the beach. Why? Because you have to drive all the way through down to side roads or go up 264. So you might have to focus more on the 15-ish minute range for the Oceania side, and kind of closer, kind of like draw a big bulb close to Oceania, and then it kind of tapers into more like a line, or a kind of a drop closer to 264 as you go away from the beach. Because if you stay close to the beach, you can get, or I'm sorry, if you stay close to the interstate, you can still get to the beach within 20 minutes. So, for example, if you're in this area here, this is off of Independence near Mount Trashmore. It's a great neighborhood over here. Windsor Woods, it's around the 400, 375 price range. Larkspur's over here. If you're close to here and you drive up towards the beach, it's only going to take you like 17, 18 minutes, even though you're further away. So I'd say that if you're close to Oceania, you're going to be able to be fine either way. Further away, get closer to the interstate as much as you can. Focus on there and try as much as you can to just try and get close to the interstate if you can. So I don't know if that helps your question, but Will, to answer your question there, expensive. It depends. Expensive depends on the person. Some people find this place to be very affordable because it's not as expensive as especially the Northeast or the West, or it's. I think the prices have increased steadily, partly for that reason, because people are finding that like it's not that expensive to be near the beach over in here compared to other examples, and the climate is so nice. It's so 4 seasons, so it's a nice balance, and so that's why probably why I'm a big fan. So let me keep going down. Jarvin, am I pronouncing that correctly? Any recommendations on any area like the Virginia Beach in the late 90s? Virginia Beach is too crowded. I'm sorry, I don't know if I understand your question. The late 90s meaning how Virginia Beach was in the late 90s? So before more development happened in Virginia Beach? If that's true, I think your closest example of that is probably going to be part of Chesapeake. So back to the map, Chesapeake meaning like the south central area, like Great Bridge, or Grassfield, like the south central area where you've got country down below, where you got, look at all these, I'll show you the trees. There you go. Farmland, blah, 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 blah. But a lot of developed houses in the 90s, kind of like the way it was in Virginia Beach, where you got houses built in the 80s in this area, kind of like in the part of Virginia Beach before the boom started. But other than that, if you're talking that, again, South Central Virginia, Chesapeake, or Suffolk is great. And I think there are some spots that have new developments coming that I think are going to be great. Like if you stay on the northeastern side or eastern side, you'll be near newer construction. Jolliffe Landing is a great neighborhood that is off of Portsmouth Boulevard, or I guess it's not Portsmouth Boulevard over there. It's what is it called over there? There's Portsmouth Boulevard. I can't remember. Nansman Parkway, but where is the neighborhood that I'm looking for? Where is the name? Okay, still haven't found. Jolliffe Landing Homes. There it is right here. New construction here. There's more apartments. There's new stuff coming here right across the street from Amazon. So as you can see, there's just more development happening here. And it's kind of like maybe like how Virginia Beach was in the 80s in parts, because Virginia Beach, there was a lot of areas in Virginia Beach where there were 2-lane roads. So Indian River Road, which is in the center of Virginia Beach. Where is it? There it is. Farrell Parkway, Indian River Road. This road here, as you go towards 64, this is a very popular area now. Like very, very, it's a lot of people here. So see where it says Acredale. There is this road here. It's a 2-lane. It was back in the 70s, going into the 80s, a 2-lane road. This was a 2-lane road. Now it's 6, right? I think, 6, with a weird configuration here that we can get into later if you have any questions about traffic and how traffic works. This intersection is one of the first in its kind in the country, if not the first, that has very unique turn lanes I can talk about. But my point is, you see this Acredale Saddlery? This is one of the original businesses that was on Indian River Road right here, still hanging on around all the rest of the stuff. Well, this was a 2-lane road. Once you pass Acredale, you ran into a lot of nothing. it was country. And so you'll see kind of very subtle dynamics of what that looked like back in the 70s and 80s. You see these newer construction houses being built, but it was, you see, stay on Indian River Road, watch, you keep going. I don't want to bore you with further and further along, but these newer houses were built in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. If you keep going, you'll see that it turns into country, more and more country, farmland, golf course, nice golf course too. I like that one. But these are just little neighborhoods that plopped around in the 80s. Before then, it was just a country road. So things have changed. Going back to what I was saying before, Suffolk has some elements of that. And I'd say in 20, 30 years, you could be seeing Suffolk in a whole different light, similar to what's in Great Bridge and South Chesapeake and Grassfield. But the difference there is that it's kind of already become not Virginia Beach per se, but it's just there's a lot here already. There's a lot of houses here already. So I don't expect this area to develop as fast, or very fast. But I think that, as you'll see South Great Bridge, you'll see Edinburgh, this whole area down here. There's a whole Home Depot, shopping. There's a Target there, movie theater near Hickory High School. This area is going to be it's building up. There's some big houses in here. Edinburgh Commons over $1 million. There's one just got listed for 1.9 a couple days ago. So, but I think to answer your question, that is probably most likely where I would say are the best spots to be, similar to what's in the late 90s. Jarvin, yes, thank you. Did yes to your name? Did I pronounce your name correctly? And thank you. You're welcome. Yeah. So. Yeah, I'd love to hear any feedback, more questions. I have some questions that I wanted to answer for you. As you have any more yourself, I wanted to talk to you. I've had this question several times recently that I think I want to answer in more detail as well in a different video. But the question is, should I be worried about flooding here? Because now, as we're getting into April quickly turns into June and July, and that is the hurricane season. And the question about what happens with flooding. Am I going to have an issue? Should I buy flood insurance? Where are the issues? Where are the problem areas? And I had a conversation with someone today about this. And from a local's perspective, this is not, it's often made more a bigger deal from other parts of the country compared to what it really is here, in my opinion. What you'll notice is that there are two types of systems that come through here. It is usually a hurricane system, but also usually a remnant of the hurricane that is not, it's not coming with the brunt of what a hurricane can come through, like you see in Florida, the stories in Texas and Louisiana. You don't see that much here. You don't see it here. And to show you on the map, part of the reason is because, and I've talked about this in a couple of different videos, is that with where's the map? We are protected from the south, or protected from the south. In the south, we're protected. We're in the south by North Carolina. And so what happens is, as hurricanes form, they come up, either go west or they come up northwest, and they hit South Carolina, they hit Georgia, they hit North Carolina. By the time they get to us, the eye wall is usually a lot more reduced than it was back when the hurricane started or made landfall. So usually what we'll find is, if, for example, if a hurricane has max winds of like 120 hitting, the southeastern coast, you'll find by the time it gets to us, it could end up being more like 70 or 60 or sometimes 40, or, it becomes remnants. It's not to say that you should just disregard it completely, but at the same time, my point here is that you won't necessarily find there to be as much of an issue with huge storms, if you will, like big, like the ones you might see on the news, as much, just because of where we're positioned, this conveniently positioned away, protected from this on the south by land. But we'll get rain. We'll get a lot of rain and a decent amount of wind. And so it does depend some, like there will be some spots in Virginia Beach or in the general Hampton Roads area that can flood. But you'll hear very specific stories. Like if you look up look up two different hurricanes, Hurricane Matthew and Hurricane Isabel. To me, those are the two primary hurricanes that, if you want to get the most information about where the flooding has happened in the past, that has been the worst, you'll probably find that those two hurricanes will tell you the closest or the most detailed stories of the spots that have been hit the hardest. Ever been an issue. And not just that, you'll see if you just look up the term nor'easter, NOR-Easter. This is not a hurricane. These happen in the fall. They're super annoying. They have a lot of wind, oftentimes 50, 60 miles an hour, sometimes even more than that. They're just not usually like the top speeds of the winds aren't going to be the top highest that you might see with a traditional hurricane. But at the same time, they're going to still pack a punch. And again, still a lot of rain. So we've got hurricanes, usually reduced or remnants of those hurricanes that hit in the summertime. Sometimes, maybe usually once every year or two, we see something. Or we'll get those nor'easters that come actually probably once a year or two as well. And those are super frustrating. Those just kind of come and kind of blow your world, surprise you a little bit because you're thinking, well, it's fall time, getting ready for cold. Not so fast. And that's another other thing too. It can be a little bit windy and a little bit cooler. So just not a fun time. So just check those spots. Do those search. Check up nor'easter. Look up Hurricane Isabel and look up Hurricane Matthew to see spots that may have been hit in the past with flooding. But again, it's very localized. I grew up in Virginia Beach and through the area and have not really had that issue. And if you go into places like Poquoson on the south of Yorktown, that area has had a lot of articles talk about flooding in the past. Seaford, this whole side on the eastern side, not all of it, but mainly Poquoson. And I guess Seaford, now that I think about it, it has more of the issues, especially also in Hampton. So, point being is that you'll find that there are larger swaths, if you will, to use the weather term, of the area that can have some flooding, like especially on the northern, like on the peninsula. But as you go further north into like Williamsburg, Jamestown, again, back to like not as localized, not really as big of a thing. Going back into Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, you'll see some marshy areas that have some issues in Chesapeake, but again, it's not as widespread as you might think, as far as like places that would actually require flood insurance and all that. So that's a pretty common question, especially now that we're getting into the hurricane season. Like, what's going to happen there, and how does that work? Now, the question also is, here's one thing: if you don't have flood insurance, and you're thinking about getting it, and you're like planning to move here, or you're moving here, and you're trying to decide. If you come here for the first time, or you're living here for the first time, and you're thinking, hey, I might be worried about hurricanes. Totally legit. I understand. What I would suggest, though, is if you're trying to get more insurance, call them as soon as you can, because a lot of times I think this is pretty common that I believe, check insurance companies to confirm this, but I believe that unless you call to add coverage, like flood insurance coverage, within a month, don't quote me on that. I think it's around a month or less. They will not cover you for that next month, meaning like you can't just see that the weather's going to change and then call and change your policy. It doesn't really work like that. So just check with insurance companies to see like what the minimum amount of time you need in order to call to add policy or increase your flood policy, or make a flood policy, if you will. So that's something that you don't want to learn the hard way if that's a thing. David West. Hey, David. West Ghent. Awesome. Represent West Ghent. I love West Ghent. Friends live in West Ghent. I think it's a great part of town. One of my most underrated parts of Norfolk, really. The secret part, and it's got the area of Chelsea is just the best. I need to do a video about Chelsea. I love Chelsea. All those breweries and restaurants popping up around there. If anyone decides to move, Trey, thank you for this, decides to move to the Hampton Roads area, definitely have to be careful around Virginia Beach Expressway. Had an incident going down there. Traffic is very bad near that area. Now, when you say the Virginia Beach Expressway, do you mean 264, Trey, or do you mean Virginia Beach Boulevard? Love to hear back about that scenario. RM Frog, how bad is the drive from Ghent to Costco? Good question. I love that question. Google Maps says between 25 and 45 minutes around 5 o'clock on a weekday. Is that accurate? What are the general traffic patterns in the direction from Ghent? Okay. All right. It can be. It depends on where. So I think David might be able to help, not putting you on the spot, David, but being from West Ghent, it is also helpful to know that the further in the corner you are in Ghent, and I'll show you the map kind of where my mind's at, the further you are west and in the corner, or even closer to Hampton Boulevard near that area, but the further you are closer to a lot of the trafficy areas, the the longer it's going to take, and that 25 minutes can turn into 39, relatively easily if you're going to be driving through there. Because if you'll notice, all right, let me show you this on the map, the area in Ghent on the western side. So see West Ghent here, see Hampton Boulevard. Okay, so Hampton Boulevard turns into the tunnel, right? Here's the tunnel. Well, Hampton Boulevard turns into the tunnel. Well, what is that? Well, who cares? Well, I care because this lane on the, I guess it'd be the right lane, flipping it around, backs up from the tunnel going back, especially during like the week. I think it's 4 to 6 gets the most, but you can't. Here, I'll show you. I'm going to see if I can see some signs on here. You can't change lanes in this lane. There you go. Good example. That's awesome. This must be during the evening or afternoon. So see these cars here, see this traffic. It's hard to kind of maneuver through here because this line, look at that line, goes all back there. And I want to see if I can show you the street or the sign. I can't really see it. See 3:30 to 6, I think, cars. I can't remember. Monday to Friday. I can't see that. But there, David, you'll know the name of that sign, or that sign says, there it is. Cars restricted. Actually don't know what that means. That's not the one I was looking for. There's one that says, oh, here we go. Look at this. 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. You cannot turn right. All right. What does that mean? I got to go to a different light. It's just complicated. It's annoying if you're in West Ghent. And I think David could probably attest to that. But I will say that the 45-minute range is probably not extreme. I think so. If I'm coming from the middle of Ghent, so I'll show you the map here. My guess is that it'll probably take you more like 25 is probably more reasonable around 5 o'clock, maybe 30, but I don't think it's going to be 45. I think it depends on if you're like in a very specific spot. Like that's just really, I'm kind of reaching there for specific spots, but otherwise, it's not super long, but I think 25 is reasonable. Let me see, David, have you responded? Oh, there we go. 20 minutes. Yeah. I live on Gates Avenue and work on Lynn Haven. It takes me 25 in the morning and probably 30 in the afternoon. I think that makes a lot of sense. And Costco, the good thing about Costco is it is right off the interstate. And so you see there, we got Lake Taylor, Janif, where's Costco? There it is. Why do I know? Because I go to Costco too. It's right next to the interstate. So the goal is for you to get on the interstate. Like what's the fastest way to get there, right? Because as soon as you pop on there, you can pop off and go like one exit, boom, you're right there. So the issue is just going to be this navigating through Ghent. And again, it depends on where you are, but I think David, he's going to know too, since he lives there. But again, I think it's going to be in that range. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, David. Yep. Let's go to Trey's vlogs. Coming out 264 where the loop area is. Yeah. I agree, Trey. That area, I'll go into the detail about that and finish. I saw David's comment. I missed the 5 o'clock part. Yeah, that might take some more time. Yeah, I agree. I still don't think it's going to be 45 minutes. It's going to be more than 20, I think, in that time. But I think, 25, 30 is, if someone if my wife said, hey, let's go to Costco and I'm in Ghent, it's doing something, or she is, I expect about close to 30 minutes about 30 minutes. So I hope that answers your question. Kind of beat a dead horse there with the timing, but yeah, thanks, David. Oh, Princess Anne Plaza, location. Alan, a little corner of plaza is Brookwood. No floods, underground utilities, couple of houses just new on the market, enjoying your show. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, so Alan is over in Princess Anne Plaza, or it's one of his favorite parts of Virginia Beach, I should say. And I like it too. It's one of the biggest values in Virginia Beach, and we haven't talked about that area. I talked about that recently in a couple of other videos, but that's one of his favorite neighborhoods or parts of Hampton Roads, for the fact that you are extremely convenient. Location he is exactly right. And Brookwood, it's a southeastern section of Virginia Beach, or of Princess Anne Plaza. I'll show you real quick on the map. Good point there on the underground utilities. Another thing I need to mention more of, because not every neighborhood has that. I think it's a huge benefit to having underground utilities. they're coming through my neighborhood and doing that pretty soon. And I'm going to show you where this is. Princess Anne Plaza right here. And this section here, another helpful part about this corner section near Bow Creek, near Lanhaven Mall, is the fact that it is, I believe all of it is in the Ocean Lake School District. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe Alan, you might know. But yeah, it's close to Lanhaven Mall, easy access, very, very good houses for the price. Go back. RM Frog, thanks. Going to be living right around EVMS. Okay, so you're close to, you're close to Collie. We'll have to deal with that West Ghent situation, but that's a good to know about regardless. Yeah, so if you're coming down Brambleton, which is where you'll be coming from most likely, you would just be hitting some traffic coming through closer to downtown. Yeah, it's annoying sometimes. 5 o'clock is not going to be as big of a deal for concerts and stuff, but it will still be a little bit of an annoyance. But yeah, I think 30 minutes is reasonable to answer your question. Thanks also Alan for chiming in. That was very helpful and good to hear from you. And so that was actually leading me to my next question, which was, is traffic really that bad? And the reason I think this is an important question right now, as I keep sharing my screen, you probably don't want to see the map of that. Maybe you do. Plaza Middle and Green Run High School. Okay, I apologize. Okay, so that is Green Run Plaza. Okay. So question, is traffic really that bad? I did a video or multiple videos about the pros and cons of living in Virginia Beach a long time ago, and also one more recently, talking about how frustrated I get with traffic. I still get frustrated with traffic, sort of, but there's an unconscious, I guess a byproduct of construction, which is when the construction's done, people don't complain as much about traffic, but they forget that they don't complain as much about traffic. The reason is because traffic is getting better. And I would say that maybe I'm making a controversial statement, but I think traffic is getting a little bit better in some very important parts of the area. So, namely, I'm going to go back. I guess I should have just shared my screen the whole time with that map. But going back to the map, first of all, the first big development that happened that really said, okay, we are changing how we drive in Virginia Beach is the 264 interstate around the expressway, where Trey said, which I'm not saying there's not a lot of traffic. So Trey, to mention what you said, to back you up, it gets real backed up around here. But it is not as bad as it used to be. They've added a lot of lanes coming from 64 to 264. Look at all these. Okay, before all these additional lanes, there was just one lane. This right-hand lane was coming on the 264, and you had one option. And that thing would back up so far. I used to drive a bus. Alan, you remember this. I drove a bus at at a hotel in Virginia Beach called the Founders Inn. And the Founders Inn was right off the interstate. I would drive a bus shuttle that would pick people up at the airport and also drive them to the beach. And the way you had to get there, the quote unquote fastest, really the most convenient, was to get on the interstate. Here's the Founders Inn right here. Get on this interstate, head down 64, and they get to 264. The problem is, though, that going there during rush hour was the worst. 1 o'clock wasn't as bad. 4 o'clock was rough. And you just would sit there, and it would take 30, 40 minutes, if not longer sometimes, to get there because this lane would back up so much. Well, that is in the 90s, 2000s. That has since changed. A lot of more lanes here. Again, there's still going to be traffic. It's still annoying. But that was the first thing that kind of triggered, oh, hey, this is going to be a little bit better experience than it used to be. Now, moving over to the one I mentioned about Indian River Road, which to me was one of the most congested and worst, kind of surprising areas of parts of the area for traffic. Indian River Road, ironically close to the Founders Inn. This road would back up so much. It still does. Okay. It's not like it doesn't anymore. I drove that road today, and it backed up some. So backing up, going towards Indian River Road, it's hard. This whole area just congests. Well, what did they do? They built this new intersection here. This intersection according to some people, so when this was built, well, let me start over. This road, you remember Indian River Road and Kempsville Road, was just a generic, 4-lane highway. You could turn left, you could turn left, you could turn right, whatever. Well, what they did was, as you could see, these lanes, they had turn lanes. Oh, they haven't done it yet. Oh, no, they haven't designed, they haven't done the aerial view with the new version. Okay, so I got to do an aerial without this. Okay, so you see where Kemp's River. There we go. You see where these arrows are right here. Okay, why is that there? Why does that look weird? Okay, so what they're doing is they change it from just a straight light on both sides. They change it so that now, instead of coming up to the stoplight, blocking everything and trying to turn left, they now are having you come through the light on the Indian River Road, come here. There's a stoplight here. That stoplight, quick stoplight, you stop there and you make a U-turn, and that U-turn takes you back here to veer right onto Kempsville Road. You do that in going this direction and also going the opposite direction. Now, going on Kempsville Road, you can go straight, or if you're coming on Indian River Road, and you can veer onto incoming traffic with Kempsville over here. So my point is here that they are trying to essentially loosen up the tension that was being built up at Kempsville and Indian River Road. And so I believe, and again, my opinion, maybe I'm the crazy one, but I've not heard as many people complain about this intersection. But they did at the very beginning. They thought, this is confusing. It is confusing. But once people got used to it, I haven't heard a peep from people in the last few months, years, a couple of years, I'd say, about how confusing this is. Every once in a while, I hear frustrations about the thing. But again, is it still backing up? Yes. Is it as bad? To me, no, it's not. Let me add to that. All right. Let me answer some more of your questions or comment. Do you have any idea what's happening to the Farm Fresh Independence area? Been abandoned for years. So we're talking about the North Independence one, I suppose, closest to Haygood. If the answer to that is no, I would love to know that. I think that's a very prime location. I don't know what's happening there. I'd love to know. I should probably look into that some more, to be honest with you. David, no, haha, our traffic is a walk in the park compared to Northern Virginia, DC. Also was recently in Miami and was reminded that we have it easy with traffic. Oh, Elkie, yeah. Okay. Agreed, David. Agreed. Elkie, that's awesome. Miami's traffic makes Norfolk, Virginia Beach traffic look like a breeze. Yeah. And so I think it's kind of comical. And I used to make a bigger deal about this, and it is still annoying, but it's very specific spots. Just let's not get carried away. People that live here for a long time are the ones that complain the most. Like me, and I'm getting over it. But I will say that, and I've learned this recently, the traffic issue is not as much the amount of cars, it's the expectation that you have to get to where you want to go that is often not met. The time that it takes. So if you think you can get somewhere in 15 minutes, it could take 22. That's kind of where my mind ends up going. And so that's what's frustrating more than anything, because there are so many opportunities for lights or traffic lights to create backups or small backups, just delays, right? So you could drive from one side of Indian River Road to the other, or down towards Princess Anne, and it only take you 12 minutes. Or during the rush hour, it could take you 23 minutes. So that's the difference, is that you just may not expect it, especially if there's an accident, because there's all these windy roads and frustrating roads, especially in the rain. Oh my gosh. So it's just the expectations. And I'm using Virginia Beach as an example. Same thing happens in Chesapeake, really. You got bridges to deal with there, bridges like near the Locks Bridge there. And they're trying to help with that too, but there's still some bottlenecks. Again, Battlefield Boulevard can bottleneck, not as big of a deal. If you're coming from a bigger city, let's not get carried away. The rest of the area, the biggest issues mostly are going to be more in the closer to the interstates, where you've got like 664, 264, 64. Another spot that gets backed up, the high-rise bridge, that is getting renovated as well, and more lanes are being added. So that's another congestion point coming from Virginia Beach over to Suffolk and Portsmouth and towards Hampton Newport News. That is going to help. The big one, the big kahuna that is going to change to me the complexion of Hampton Roads is the renovation of the Interstate 64 Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. Excuse me. What this is going to do, it's going to expand it. I think double the size of the bridge, and this will, I think, drastically affect, or at least a decent amount affect the commute times coming from the peninsula. That could be from Newport News and Hampton up to Williamsburg, Toano, Lenexa, all this area here, Yorktown, this area from the north going to the south, and vice versa from Norfolk to Newport News and up. I drive on this tunnel all the time. I do work so much in Williamsburg, in Jamestown, and Yorktown, and in Newport News. I work a lot on that side, and I work a lot in Newport News and Norfolk and Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. And so because of that, I drive this a lot, and it can back up. It is so frustrating. I was on this yesterday. It backed up. I mean, it took me an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes to get from, I think I was going towards Newport or Virginia Beach, and I was coming from Williamsburg or North Williamsburg. And so it was actually more like 2 hours, I think, to get from one side to the other. It usually takes about 50 minutes. So that's not common. That's not uncommon, especially during rush hour, really. And so I think it's going to get better. And I think when it gets better, prices in Hampton, prices in Newport News are going to increase in relation to Norfolk and Virginia Beach, because there are a lot of people that I talk to that think through the concept of, should I live in Newport News? Should I live in Williamsburg? Should I live in Yorktown and commute to Virginia Beach, or vice versa? And people very rarely will choose to live on the other side of the tunnel compared to where they work or where they have to be. And I think that could possibly change soon, based on how many more lanes and how much easier it's going to be to drive, I think, across the tunnel. One of the big the underdiscussed reasons as to why it backs up is not just, people driving slow through the tunnel. That's a thing. Accidents, that's a thing. Not as many lanes that probably are necessary. That's a thing too, I would say, my guess. But another thing that happens with the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel is that, I'll see if I could show you, the entrances for the tunnel to go through. Oh, I just went in the tunnel. Well, all right. Let's try again. That was a cool visual. Let's see. I'm here for the good visuals for you. Let's drop it over here. There. And we're okay. So you can't see it. So I'm going to do an aerial view. So you can see here. Oh, that's why, because all right. You're watching me learn how computers work in real time. All right. So is this the tunnel? There we go. Okay. So you see the tunnel entrance right here. Okay. As you come through there, VDOT, I think it's VDOT, Virginia Department of Transportation, I believe, is the one that's looking at it. Or maybe it's just the Tunnel Authority, can watch and see who's coming well before they drive through the tunnel. And they'll try and tell you the height of this entrance. The height is this, when they built this, it was not high enough to support all the trucks or trailers or whatever that can drive through a lot of other places now. And so what happens is they have to, ahead of time, watch ahead and see. I think they have radar that can measure. I think this is right. And I may have to double check this, but there's radar to determine, or as a method to determine, how high the trailer or the truck is that is approaching the tunnel. And if it's higher than the clearance, they have to basically stop traffic here, right at this area here, and then bring people through and stop the truck or the camper or whatever that is here, pull them over, tell them what's going on, and then make them turn around. And if they want to go to Hampton, they have to turn around and go all the way back, not just from 64, turn around all the way back around to 64 all the way around. So that's not only annoying for them, but what happens? You have to stop traffic to make that happen. You have to stop traffic here. I guess you have to stop traffic on the other side too, to make the U-turn, and it backs up traffic. And that isn't as big of a deal. Like, oh, well, who cares? Well, once that stopping happens, imagine how long it starts making people brake way back in the 64. So it backs up a lot. for just ridiculous reasons sometimes. And so that's a great example of when they build a new one, that won't be, that, to my knowledge, a problem anymore. So I think that's a big deal. Big deal. So I think it's going to change the amount of times it backs up. I think it's going to change the amount of times that, accidents most likely happen, all that stuff. I think it's going to most likely increase the value of property in Hampton, Newport News, and going past Williamsburg, because I think people are going to start being okay with driving through that tunnel. So, which means more demand coming across that water, because they're going to see the prices between one side and the other. Like, hey, I'll cross that tunnel. I'm all right. Yeah, okay, I saw you. Okay, Jarvin, does public school still have a free school bus? I just totally switched from traffic. I apologize. But yeah, that's a big deal, James, to finish the statement. Does public school have a free school bus for kids? Yeah, so yes, to my knowledge, it's all free, I believe, if it's in the district. Now that where it gets into the details that I actually don't know any, I need to find this out. I need to find this out soon, is how it works with, if you're not in the district, what options you have, if you have any options. But I believe, just confirm this, but I believe it's a free bus, because I mean, you'll see if you drive through Virginia Beach, you'll see a bunch of school buses. But again, I think it might be location based or needs based. I don't know how the decisions are made to go where in Virginia Beach based on school districts, or Virginia or Chesapeake, or going up through Williamsburg. I don't know the dynamics, but I need to find out specifically about Yorktown, about Williamsburg, and about Chesapeake and Virginia Beach, about those schools, because I get questions about that a decent amount. So, hi, Sam. Hi. I got question marks. How long will it take to get from Suffolk near Comfort Suites? I think that would be, I guess we're talking Northeast Suffolk near Riverfront. Am I getting that right? To Centera Hospital in Norfolk, which I think that would then be the Heart Hospital in Ghent, or would that be the Centera Lee off Kempsville Road? I think that'll be a big question, because that would depend, because one of those is near Costco, the other is in Ghent. But I think possibly the Heart Hospital, if that's the most likely one, back to close to near CHKD. And I think my gut, let's do a quick check, but I think there's multiple options. I would say if you're talking to Heart Hospital, that is going to be closer to Ghent. You're going to have a nice, convenient access. If the Comfort Suites I'm thinking about is close to the northeastern part of Suffolk, because you can go to you have multiple options to tell you what's going on. So number one is, am I shared? Yeah. So showing you one option, I think, let's go 664 Harbor View. I'm going to zoom in, I believe. Oh, it's a Hilton Garden Inn. That's not the Comfort Suites. I don't know. Where's the Comfort Suites then? Is it the one down closer to, there it is. Yeah. This one, same thing. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be coming one either direction. You can go 664 and go 264 and go through the tunnel of the downtown tunnel. There's a toll. Takes you through the bridge, 264, and then takes you to Centera Norfolk right here. Okay. That is the long way. It's also the toll way. You can also go around and go all the way around and avoid the toll. That's going to take you probably like an hour, maybe 50 minutes or so. This direction, 264, will probably take you 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Depends on what time of the day too. Like, it could take you 25, it could take you 40. This backup can be frustrating, but sometimes it may not take that long. But here's the way that you can save if you're coming through the Comfort Suites here. 164, the Western Freeway right here. This road, so don't get on the interstate. Take the 17 Bridge Road. Western Freeway 164 takes you to the Midtown Tunnel. Midtown Tunnel is also wonderful. There's a bridge here. What says that? Bridge anything? Oh, it's called West Norfolk Bridge. Yeah. Take that bridge, or go across that bridge. Take the Midtown Tunnel. It spits you out right at Norfolk and Centera. That drive is going to be closer to, if there's no traffic, I mean, it could take you probably like 13 minutes, 14 minutes. If it's traffic, maybe 20s, low 20s. Let's just do a check. Centera, let's do, I'm just curious to see how close I am. Guys, how close am I? Am I accurate? Let's do that. I'm going to do directions to the Heart Hospital. I'm putting my neck out there, guys. Putting my neck out there. Heart Hospital. 10 minutes. I was being a little conservative too. I was like, dang, but 10 minutes. There you go. And this road has tolls. Yes. Let's see what happens if it goes at 5 o'clock. Leave now, depart at, let's just say leaving at 5 o'clock, 10 to 12 minutes. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. 4 o'clock, 3:30, 10 to 14. You see, there's just an extra little bit, 12 minutes. It's not much. Now going the other way, 16 to 22, because more people are coming out of Norfolk. It's this right here. It's back to this whole thing right here. It's the back up there. That's usually the issue. Sometimes coming through the Portsmouth side a little bit, but mostly there. You see some here, I guess, but it does back up. This road right here does back up. This light can back up. Add another 2-3 minutes, extra couple stoplights. But there you go. There's to answer your question. So Trey, reminds me of the 11'8" bridge video, the one where a truck opens like a can of sardines. Video or staged but funny. I don't know that one, Trey. Is that one? I didn't do that one myself, right? But yeah, I don't know that one. This is probably highly specific to each house apartment, but is there a consensus on Cox versus Verizon 5G? Ooh, it's the disputed or highly competitive or highly opinionated debate. Which is better, Cox or Verizon? We're a Cox or a Verizon family, so I like Verizon. I think part of the issue is, from my opinion, based on my opinion, Cox was the only one on the block, the only kid, I guess, kid in town, only show in town. And because of that, people they just did not like Cox. Everybody was so against Cox, anti-Cox, this and that. But then when Verizon came, competition came, and now, people just love Verizon. Oh, I love Verizon. Well, okay, Verizon's got its issues too. And I think, to me, at this point, it's pretty much a wash. I think you'll find that they both have their problems. They both have their benefits. I have a pretty good experience with Verizon's internet myself. Their issue with Verizon is that it's just not, close this out. There we go. It's not very well distributed throughout the area. So you have to first check and see if Verizon is carried in your area, in that house apartment area ish, that whole conversation. So I would say that you need to check to make sure. So you can't assume that you have both those options. You can also go, if you go towards Suffolk, you have Centrum Silver. Spectrum, I think, is still a thing in Suffolk. Very few people that I know use that. I think usually it goes to Verizon and Cox as well. But as you go further into the country, I think you'll see that there are fewer options for Verizon. So just I think Verizon also has a thing on their website where you can enter in the website and see if it's there. Just having the option helps. But I prefer Verizon. But they both, it's big internet here to come at you with their problems. Trey, no, it was in reference to the HRBT being so small and not being able to fit in large vehicles. 11'8" bridge video. Yeah, I'm saying, is the video you saw, is that video, I guess, is that a video that I found or I did, or is that a video I must not have? I didn't know. I've never seen that video, but I can imagine that if there is a video, whatever video you're seeing, that probably has happened at Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. Oh, you're saying, it did happen. I'm sorry, Trey. It did happen there. I'll check and look online and see if I can find a video that video references it. But yes, both of them. Cool. Nice. All right. So there you go. Both, to follow up again to what you're saying about the best options, about which one's the best. The toll, and this is helping as many people as possible here, as far as like just the dynamics of the area. But the tolls coming from the Midtown and downtown, I think they're close to the same. I don't know; they might be the same. But you're gonna be going through tolls either way. So if you're gonna be driving and taking tolls, in my opinion, I would just take the Midtown Tunnel, because you're right there. It's just it spits you out right around the corner. So we're getting into the 1 hour and 10 minute mark. I will wrap this up here. I know I've been talking a lot about all kinds of things, and I just wanted to give everybody a perspective of kind of starting, if there's anybody that's looking to move here and want to get a new, fresh look in 2023 of what's happening, and what what living in this area is like right now. This is what my goal was, and so thanks for asking the questions. These detailed questions really help a lot of people, believe it or not. So all these little details, the nuances, I just like the community element of this. So anything you can ask, feel free to ask. I feel like I have the map of the whole region in my head, in my mind a lot of times. So if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. But if not, people here in the comments, feel free to comment below. Again, also you can drop any questions in the comments later if you have further questions, and I'll drop here's my contact info as well. So again, I do help people all the time relocate to Hampton Roads. So if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer as fast as I can. I would love to help you relocate here. That's again what I do. So you can email me. Got my email address here. I love if you have any deeper topics about helping you relocate here. There's a process that I found is very efficient for helping people get acclimated here. Like that process, what that looks like, and just what my best recommendations for spots and places and ways to check out the area to research it. Like all those details, I can get into that with you as well. You can email me, we can call, we can set up a conversation. I know also you can go to my website as well. But any way you can reach out to me, I'll answer as fast as I can, and then I'd love to help you relocate here, because again, I love doing that and helping people reacclimate themselves to a new area, and because I love this area and know this area so well. So thank you so much, Sam. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Will. Yeah, appreciate the time, and thanks again for taking the time in your evening to watch all you guys out there in different parts of the world. I just love helping, and I love doing these live ones. And so we'll see you actually on the next video, which will be next week, next Wednesday. Happens every week, and I've been doing this for over 4 years, and I'll keep doing it. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it, and I will see you on the next one.